Hungia mātau, e te karaiti to hungia mātau. E te atua to hungia mātau, e tō mātau matu i te rangi. Kia tapu tō ingoa, kia tae mai tō rangatiratanga. Kia mea tia tāu e pai ai ki runga ki te whenua, kia rite mai ki tō te rangi. O mai kia mātau ai o nei he taro mo mātau mō tēnei rā. Murua o mātau hara, me mātau hoki ai muru nei o te hunga e hara ana kia mātau. Au hoki mātou e kawea kia whakawaia, engari whakaorangi a mātou i te kino, no hoki te rangatiratanga, te kaha me te karoria, ake, āmine, tēnā tata. Me ki rā, ko te rōpū, kai kone, me ki rā tō koutou whanaunga, e kia nei ko te rōpū tātou e te Wairoa, e mihi rā kia koutou. Me ki rā i wehe i te atanei. Mai i tēnā o ngā awa e mohiotea i a tātou, ko te Wairoa, ka tahi ka timata hea ki a tai, ko whakapūnaki kai tēnā o te taha matau, me haere tai atu rā ki a huriri. Kai rei rā ka hurānaki, me ki rā ka u haere rei, ki rote a tau hara, i a tau pōniu i ātia, ka taka haere, ka tai konei a tarawira a ngōtaha kāmi. Ka pai tāku titiro i tōna tehi, ka tai kai reiru i ona tātahi ko te moana kahumata momoe. Whakawhiti atu ki tēnā te motu tapu a tinirau, ka tahi ka mihi i tūhaurangi a Ngāti Wahiao, te ure o unuku kōpako, Ngāti Whakaue, ka tika kāmi. Me ki rā ki whāriki hea e nā o ngā mate o tā uanei. Rātau kai muara i a tatau, me ki rā ngā tapuai i kōrero hea e nau e whai ake. No reira kōtou rā ngā mate kai tēnā marae, kai tēnā marae, kai tēnā marae o tatau. Anei rā i whāriki hea mākua i te whenua. Kia mihi, kia poraporaki, kia tuku, kia kōtou, no reira hoki atu, haere atu rā. Hoki mai rā kia tatau, e ngā uri o kura aupō, kai ngā uri o tāki timu waka, tēnei te mihi, hara mai rā. Hara mai kai rungi e nā kōrero i haria i Mauri a kenei. Mai i tēnā o ngā rā, kai rote i te Wairoa, ka taka mai ki rote i ahuriri, haere oki rā ki te upoko te ika, i tēnei rā kai reira, kai kone. No reira, ara mai rā. Hara mai kia āta tiro hia, kia āta whakarongo ki ene o ngā kaupapi whakahaeretia i te rōpū nei, me ki rā mō tata. Ko tēnei o ngā uri, nā koutou i whiriwhiria, nā koutou i pōtihia, kai konei e hari e mauri ake te kaupapa, nā koutou i timatahia. Nō reira, e te hohoinga nei. Me ki rā ngā whanaunga e tai ki te kaupapa nei, tēnei te mihi atu, tēnā koutou aramai, a tēnā koutou akatau maira. Nā kā tia whera, me ki rā he waiata i kone. Me he mea mohiana koutou i te waiata tia.
Tutia mai ngā iwi, tātou e. Tutia mai ngā iwi, tātou e. Whai awa te maramatanga, me te aroha i ngā iwi. Kia patapatahi, kia kotahi rā, tātou e.
A tēnā tātou e pūhia nei e tahau, tēnā tātou e uhia nei e te ua, a tēnā tātou e whitia nei e te rā. A kāpiti hono tātai hono rātou kua mihia kua tangia. Hoki mai rā kia tātou te kanuhi ora. E tutuki hea e nā ngā wawata i waihotia o tātou nei mātua tipuna. Anō reira tēnā koutou, a huri noa tēnā tātai. Kai konei tō tātou nei tiamana Leon, kai au ia tarākau i tēnei.
Kia ora ngā tātou. Welcome to our fourth roadshow Hui engagement that we're holding around the Motu currently. I'd like to thank Piri for his words of introduction. Very insightful and very relevant and poignant for our particular journey, right? And also acknowledge our trustees here present today. We've got half the trustees here. Obviously, we're going around the country and it's good to get introduce ourselves to you. Obviously, our names are listed in the book on page 8, as well as a picture of us. So if you're not too sure who we are, obviously you'll introduce yourself up here and we'll go just around just to make sure.
Kia ora koutou katoa, ko api ata tāpani au. I currently work at Napier, chairman of Te Reo Marae, nominated by Te Reo Marae, and I'm one of the Waikato Moana Wairoa Mauri Trust Board representatives. Kia ora koutou katoa.
My name is Mauri. I'm the other trustee for Monday, and I'm Grace Town
Ka noho I here tau, and I'm one of the trustees for Ngā Tokorima Hine Manuki.
Kia ora, I'm Moha Meno. I'm Ahika trustee for Wairoa Trust, the one that's and I'm from Te Reo Marae and Thank you.
My name is Leon Soames. I'm one of the Ahika trustees for Rotorua Engagement Hui.
My name is Penny Munro. I live in Wellington. I'm one of the trustees from Whakaki Nui Arua, but part of Tātou and Tātou Te Wairua. Kia ora.
My name is Jonina Sines. It's the only time I get out of Nuhaka. I come on the road like this. But yeah, I'm a Ngāti Rākau representative of this Tātou
Trust.
Kia ora.
Good, and thank you all the trustees for introducing yourselves, as well as acknowledgement to the trustees. Other trustees who couldn't be here today. Obviously, you'll see in a presentation in the booklets, combination of the last 7 months, basically, of work since Tātou has been enacted. Obviously, the last time we were around was 12 months ago with seeking your ratification of our deed settlement, as well as the ratification of the PSG Tātou to receive the settlement assets. So this is just first part of a 3-step process we're going through, engaging on basically answering some of the questions we could not answer when we went through the Tita Whakiemi. Obviously the main question around that was the final arrangements around asset ownership and governance representation, something that the Tita Whakiemi couldn't quite settle on. Obviously this is an opportunity for us to start this process in terms of seeking your feedback, because at the end of the day, we want you to give your feedback and make sure you're the ones at the end of the day going to vote on this, and we need you to be participating in a process where this includes your starting off with your aspirations, values and principles, and then we're going to be introducing a couple of conceptual concepts which will lead to the next phase. We'll come out with more of the detail. So that's just a kind of a stock take to where we are. Obviously there's our settlement legislations as well as going through the House of Representatives. It's at the second reading stage. That's the bit of legislation that enacts our bill, and when we'll potentially receive our settlement assets and settlement guidance at the end of roughly around May. But all that's in this presentation, it's in the booklet concerning where we're at with that particular part of the work. Today's engagement is basically broken into 2 parts. We've got the talking video here, which we'll go through and guide you on the two particular aspects. We're looking to inform you today, obviously, as I said, about the settlement and where we're at. And the next part is a workshop kind of process where we want to seek your feedback. We want to get you to participate in a dialogue discussion with the trustees regarding, as I said, the aspirations, values and principles, but also around some conceptual ideas about how we could potentially represent the settlement in terms of asset ownership and asset arrangements. So basically that's the kind of layout for the day. Obviously we've got a small group today. The previous engagement here we were broken into two lots, a kaumatu and a kind of a younger workshop, but today with the size of the group I think we'll just stick together as one and we can better engage with that. So that also acknowledge We've got admin support here, recording some of the details, some of your conversations. So when you do get up to answer to Q&A or provide some workshop, just provide your name so we can get that recorded. Also, you'll see the cameras. Obviously, this is part of new technology. We need to engage with a lot of our younger members. They live online, live on the online world, so that's where they are. So we want to make sure they're engaged as part of this process as well. So the Facebooks, the YouTubes and all that, all the world, that's where they tend to live. So we want to make sure that we're kind of reaching the scope as wide as possible. Last bit of information, health and safety, obviously that's always key. Exits, obviously that was clearly marked. I think these are doors as well. We can get it in the case of emergency. If you hear the alarms go, obviously they will be directed into the right area where we need to go. And then if you question about toilets, they're just through the door there as you come in. Okay. No further ado, we'll start off with the presentation, and it's about 20-30 minutes long, and then after that we'll have a short Q&A about some questions that may arise. Ka pai.
Our history is a many-layered history. It is a complex history. It is a history where we fought with the Crown. It is a history where we fought against the Crown.
The word te arawhiti means bridge and refers to something that connects items together. It also refers to a journey towards enlightenment or knowledge.
Today is about two big things. It is remembrance, it is remembering our past, it is remembering those who laid the pathway for us, and it's about celebrating this day. This is not the end of our journey, this is just one part of it. And in receiving the Crown's apology and signing the deed of settlement, it is those three instruments that together that will then allow us to turn around our waka and face it back towards the sun.
Tēnā koutou katoa, nau mai, haere mai. Thank you for joining us today for our first round of engagement hui on where we are at and what we need to do. We are Tātou o te Wairoa Trust, the post-settlement governance entity for the iwi and hapu of Te Rohe o te Wairoa. It is our responsibility on behalf of our iwi and hapu to manage the redress that will be received as part of our settlement with the Crown. We are almost through the final stages of our journey to settle all of our historical Treaty of Waitangi claims. We are also in the process of transitioning from our negotiating body, Te Tira Whakaemi o Te Wairoa, to our PSGE Tātou o Te Wairoa. Today's hui is an opportunity to hear more about the process, what we as the Trust have been up to, and the next steps, where to from here. What you tell us during this engagement hui is critical to help shape the thinking on our future representative structure, which currently has 7 kāhui or clusters and about asset ownership arrangements. The presentation is approximately 30 minutes long. Following this presentation, you will have the opportunity to ask questions, and then we will break into smaller groups to workshop some of the kōrero. The workshops are a chance for you to provide feedback and raise any initial thoughts. We have allocated 30 minutes for the questions and answers. Following the workshop session, we will have a kapu tea, so you can meet your representatives and our support teams who are here today. If you are not yet a registered member of Tātou o Te Wairoa, we can help you to register today. We are holding 9 hui across Aotearoa, in Wairoa, Ahuriri Napier, Te Whanganui Atara Wellington, Rotorua, Kirikiriroa Hamilton, Tāmaki Makaurau Auckland, Papaioia Palmerston North, Waihopai Invercargill, me Otautahi in Christchurch. The information presented at each hui is exactly the same and will cover our journey to this point, including a quick recap of negotiations and the lead up to the deed of settlement signing, a look at the parliamentary process where our settlement is currently sitting and the potential time frame moving forward. Our aspirations, values and principles looking back to 2012 when these were created, and 3 concepts that could make up our future structure. Your feedback and thoughts are really important. What you tell us now will help tātou o te Wairoa land on our direction and approach. We will be canvassing your views for the next 6 months. Today's consultation hui is the first of 3 phases between now and February next year. In November, we will come back to our people with more details and models based on your feedback. Once we have landed on a direction and structure, we will need you to vote on that. For now though, we simply want your thoughts and ideas.
There are a number of people who've guided us, who led us, who provided inspiration for us, who annoyed us, who took us to task, who told us off, but they were all part of the rich tapestry of our journey. And I think that's something we shouldn't forget when we get to the other side. They all contributed, big, little, small, whatever way it was, they created the tapestry. That's what we're looking at today.
Before we talk about our aspirations, values and principles, we are going to take a quick look back at how we arrived at this point. Our journey to settlement. Treaty of Waitangi claims in our district have a long and significant history dating back to the early 1980s. In 2002, iwi and hapu met and decided to work together to progress our claims across the district under the auspices of the Wairoa Working Group. This was the genesis of Te Tira Whakaemi o Te Wairoa. In 2009, Te Tira Whakaemi o Te Wairoa had its mandate approved, which allowed us to negotiate with the Crown. It took a lot of hard work, but Te Tira reached the best deal possible for our iwi and hapu. Our settlement was initialed in May last year and then had one of the highest turnouts during ratification. It was accepted by 96% of those who voted, which is one of the strongest settlement votes to date. Our settlement is now before Parliament. It has been read once and is currently being considered by the Mauri Affairs Select Committee. The committee has heard submissions and held a hearing in Wairoa. We expect the second reading to be in November and a third reading in March next year, where we want as many of our whānau to attend as possible. All going well, the settlement should be given the royal tick of approval next May. This is where we'll receive our recognition and have the agreed assets returned to us by the Crown. We'll now look briefly at the settlement, which includes the Crown apology delivered at our signing last year, an agreed historical account, Crown acknowledgements of treaty breaches, cultural redress that recognises the traditional, historical and spiritual associations people have with whenua and sites owned by the Crown in Arohe, and financial and commercial redress that has a total value of $100 million. Further details about the settlement can be found on our website or on page 7 in your information booklet. Once the settlement has made its way through Parliament, tātou o te Wairoa will receive and administer the redress and any future assets. It is an exciting time for our iwi and hapu. Since the deed of settlement signing in November last year, trustees have met monthly in Wairoa. Pānui from those hui are posted on our website. We have been putting together our work plan that is focused on determining the final asset and representation arrangements, which we will go through shortly in more detail. We have also engaged with our neighbouring iwi, the local community, councils and government agencies. We will now focus on the 2 areas where we want your feedback, thoughts and questions. Firstly, your aspirations, values, and principles. There is a whakatauki, ti tiro whakamuri kia mohio ai koe te huarahi, kei mua o a koe. You know not your future until you know your past. In 2012, a series of workshops were held to identify our aspirations as we work towards the settlement. At the time, our kāhui said the aspiration, or moimoia, was to be happy, loving, healthy, and wealthy tangata whenua. Kāhui also agreed these values and principles were really important to our iwi and hapu. Mana motu hake, mana moana, mana tangata, mana whenua, manaakitanga, peace and tranquility, tino rangatiratanga, kaitiakitanga, cultural identity, tikanga, Mauri worldview, rangatiratanga, arikitanga, mana rangatira, awhi, rangimarie, aroha, whakapapa, te reo me ona tikanga. The values were captured in this statement. Aroha, tika, awhi, manaki, rangimarie, as a driving force in our decision-making and treatment of one another. The ideas, aspirations, and initiatives were visionary. Tātou Tātou o te Wairoa Trust acknowledges what our whānau, hapu, and iwi all said in 2012. We now want to know whether your aspirations, values, principles, or expected behaviours have changed, and are we missing anything? What you tell us will refine those ideas and more clearly identify what success looks like for te rohe o te Wairoa. Following our questions and answers session, we will hold a workshop to talk further about this kaupapa.
The challenge for tātou tātou o te Wairoa is the utilisation of what we received in our settlement to ameliorate the circumstances of our people, to support and nurture our kōrero, our tikanga, our reo, and cultural well-being, to support our role as kaitiaki over our taonga, to provide a catalyst for tribal and district development, and to continue, as we have done in the past, to provide a positive contribution to our people, the district, the region, and the nation.
E anga whakamua ana te waka, forging a new path. We will now look at 3 asset and representation concepts. Your feedback will help form the basis for developing our post-settlement governance models. There are a range and mixture of potential models. We will use your feedback to work on these models between now and the second round of Engagement Hui in November. The 3 concepts presented today reflect possibilities at each end of the scale and a middle option. The 3 concepts are devolution, whakatoha-toha, collaboration, mahitahi, and amalgamation, kotahitanga. Each of these concepts could be applied separately to assets and representation arrangements. It will be possible to incorporate aspects of different concepts in our new PSGE structure. For example, you might like to see more amalgamation in the way assets are held and more devolution in terms of representation, or vice versa. Throughout the rest of this presentation, you will hear the term groupings used. We have not made any determinations about what those groupings could look like. It may be that they are similar to the existing clusters known as our kāhui, or they could be groupings along different lines. Whakatoha-toha, or devolution, would potentially mean no ongoing collective entity. Grouping-based representation, where each group is responsible for their own asset management and each grouping receives their own share of assets. There would be no collective decision-making. Under the concept of mahitahi, collaboration, groupings would work together with a singular entity. With grouping-based representation, a combination of groupings and centralised asset ownership, with collective decision-making while ensuring we retain individual autonomy. The third concept is kotahitanga, amalgamation, one collective entity, where representation is determined by the entity, potentially with no groupings. All assets would be held by this entity, which makes all decisions. It is important to understand these are concepts only. We are not asking you to choose which one fits best for you today. We simply want your feedback. For example, what do you like and why? And have we missed anything? There are a number of different options and possibilities of how these concepts could be structured. Once we have all of the feedback, we will consider that and further develop the concepts to include more detail. We will now look a bit closer at each concept and their pros and cons. All of this information is contained in the information booklet and can be found on our website. The first concept is whakatohatoha, devolution. In this scenario, complete devolution would suggest that all assets are distributed to groupings. The groupings are solely responsible for asset management and no assets would be held by tātou or Te Wairoa Trust. Mahitahi, collaboration might look like this. Groupings hold some assets and are responsible for those. Tātou or Te Wairoa Trust would also hold some assets. Together, groupings and tātou decide which assets go where. The third concept is kotahitanga, amalgamation. Complete amalgamation would suggest that all assets are centralised and held by tātou or Te Wairoa Trust. Tātou is solely responsible for asset management and no assets are distributed to groupings. We will now look at representation. Under whakatohatoha, more devolution might suggest that groupings decide how they appoint representatives and the decision-making powers of those representatives. Tātou or Te Wairoa Trust ceases to exist. Under mahitahi, to reflect a collaborative approach, groupings might appoint representatives to tātou or Te Wairoa Trust. Each grouping decides how they want to appoint their representatives. Under kotahitanga, representation could be decided by voting at large, not by groupings. For example, the people with the most votes would be appointed. Groupings cease to exist.
The hui that was held here at Takitimu Marae enabled the Crown to face the facts about past actions and omissions.
This is a glorious occasion and we've heard today so many reasons why it is. And we must not ever forget any of those things. It is who we are. However, we have spent too long judging our own past, too long judging the actions of our tipuna. And so Te Arawhiti is really about symbolising that part of our past and the need to put it behind us and start to make our way into the future.
Let's now look at the pros and cons of the three concepts. Remember, these are concepts only. They might not reflect our final structure, which could be a blend of all three. We'll start with the pros of whakatohatoha. Whānau are closer to decision-making. Groupings take responsibility for the advancement of their own members and their own projects. More mana motu hake at a whānau and kainga level. The pros of mahitahi are whānau participate in decision-making at a grouping level, and that feeds up to tātou or Te Wairoa Trust in a similar way to our current structure. Mahitahi gives more mana motu hake than the total centralisation concept kotahitanga. It provides the ability for groupings to advance their own projects and the ability to combine resources for regional projects and administration work. Combining some assets achieves economies of scale and more economic clout when dealing with the Crown, local authorities or corporates. There is less duplication, so the resources are not wasted, and a shared vision between groupings is upheld by tātou or Te Wairoa Trust. For kotahitanga, grouping assets achieves economies of scale. It is easier for third parties like local councils to work with because it is one single entity, not multiple groupings. Kotahitanga gives greater economic clout when dealing with the Crown, local authorities and corporates. For whakatohatoha, there is the risk of losing cohesion on a regional level. Groupings invest and grow assets alone without a shared vision. Duplication of projects and duplication of administration work would lead to wasted resources. There would also potentially be tension and uncertainty about which assets go to which group. The cons for mahitahi are complexity of the concept. Unlike whakatohatoha and kotahitanga, which are more straightforward, it requires greater consensus between groupings. The cons for kotahitanga are that whānau, hapu and iwi are distant from decision-making. The ability to exercise mana motuhake is limited, and there is potentially a perception that members would be disempowered due to their distance from decision-making. So, those are the three concepts. To see these laid out next to each other and in more detail, go to page 12 of the information booklet or to our website. Let's now recap on the timeline and what we would like to know from you. We are holding our first series of Engagement Hui this month. In November, we will come back to you with further details once we have considered your feedback. November is also when our settlement legislation is likely to be read in Parliament for a second time. In February next year, we plan on holding a ratification process on the special resolutions required by our trust deed, where we will ask you to vote on our potential asset and representation arrangements. In March, the legislation is likely to pass its final reading, with a settlement date in May 2018. That will bring to an end over 30 years of mahi on this important kaupapa. However, it is just the beginning of our new era. By the end of July 2018, we will need to complete the amendments to the trust deed by special resolution, and in October there will be new trustee elections. So, as you can see, it is a busy time but an exciting one. You can provide feedback in the workshop shortly through our Facebook page or the feedback form on our website. Remember, you decide on the final asset and representation arrangements. During our second round of engagement, we will seek your further feedback on the proposed models. Then the initial trustees will make recommendations, and all adult registered members will have the opportunity to vote on the special resolutions. So, please check with whānau to ensure they are registered. If not, tell them to head to our website now. We'll now have questions and answers. Before we do, we have the following ground rules. Please respect others and remain quiet so that their question can be heard clearly. Please identify yourself when you speak, as we have to record your name in our meeting minutes. Please keep questions related to the aspirations, values and principles, or the three concepts outlined today. For other matters, please talk to one of your representatives who are here today. Nō reira, from all of us at Tātou Tātou o Te Wairoa Trust, ngā mihi, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Mauri ora.
Kia ora whānau, thank you for listening attentively to the presentation. I think as it's said, it's quite a unique time in our history, considering all the work that's gone beforehand to get to this point in time. It is an opportunity, a unique opportunity for our members to decide on where to from now going forward into the future. Obviously, with a lot of other settlements, those decisions are made in the pre-settlement phase and it just carries through on into the post-settlement phase. Obviously, this time around we've made a clear distinction between pre and post-settlement. We've drawn the line and want basically our members to help guide us through this next stage of particular work. It's very important that you engage and help us, give us a direction that we want to take the settlement going forward into the future. Obviously, it's not just back home, all the 14 trustees who are going to be making this decision. We want everyone to participate in an open process, that they can contribute, provide some direction, and ultimately vote on the direction that we come up with. So yeah, welcome and thank you. Obviously, if you haven't entered your registration details or checked your registration details, we've got a desk here at the front with attendance. Obviously, this is a key part of this message as well, is registering. Currently, we have 6,500 registered members on our database. Quite a strong, about 2,500 of those are rangatahi under 18-year-olds. We've got 14,000 registered members who are able to vote. So we want to drive that number up to as close as the 35,000 mark that we recognise that we are out there who whakapapa back to Wairoa. So we want to make sure that everyone takes that message back home, get their whānau members to register obviously participate in this process and ultimately get to have a say when it comes to time to make a vote early next year. So, please take that message back home. You're all now part of our engagement hui that's obviously led here by Apiata Tapani. So as the trust operates, it operates into 4 groups. We've got an engagement team led by Apiata. We've got a settlement matters team led by Carolyn Jones. We've got an operational team led by Darren Beattie. And we've got a work plan team led by Janina Simon. So that's kind of how we've, as you see, there's a lot of work that's gone into obviously setting ourselves up. We're a new trust. Obviously, we need to go through a process of getting our service providers, getting ourselves operational, and also enacting this work plan program. There's a lot of work in the scene, so just acknowledge all our trustees who are here today, as well as those other trustees who cannot make it. To get to this point in time in such a short time is quite a, as you see, it's quite a lot of work's gone involved. So thank you, team, and thank you everyone for tuning up today. And on that note, we'll open it up for questions. And questions regarding the process in terms of settlement today and the process going forward for the next 6 months. So just anyone got any questions around that would be good. So obviously there's some questions around the concepts and the aspirations and values and principles. We'll just save those to the workshop session where we can record that more detail. But anyone got any questions on it regarding where we're at now currently, and where we're wanting to head to, and what the process is going forward? Papa.
Kia ora te whānau, ko Junior Chief Jahau, ko Tuatea Kāri ki rawa ko Pare Tūhara tūna Oki Tupuna, otherwise known as the Chase family from Wairoa. My grandmother is Chase family from Te Puke and all the brothers and sisters before me. One question I wanted to ask you was, out of the $100 million that you're getting, how much cash is it going to be? Because you've got to buy all those assets. How much cash would you have left?
So basically, we're purchasing 2 forests. The cash component at the after we've taken out the 2 forests, as well as the old account payment of $5 million that we received on the deed signing, is $88 million cash, plus our 50% interest in the 2 forests, Wharirata and Patunanga. So that's it.
Now that I've asked that question, I don't know what other people think, but I'm more leaning towards the idea that we have a central runanga sort of thing up the top there, and then I know that other hapus would probably have put in stuff for what they wanted, and I'm agreeable for them getting those assets, maybe some of the money, but I think that if we're going to stick together, we should stick together all as one. Because really, $88 million, the government only gives you enough money assigned to be lost in 20 years' time. It's a known fact that some of the iwi have lost their money. And I like to see, my aspirations are for our rokapuna, our old people first, and then the ones in between. I do notice that a lot of education grants goes out to tertiary and university, but our primary school and our high school kids and the, like the apprenticeship people, when they get out of school, there's nothing much really there for them. And the biggest question that I would like to see is hauora for our, we've got a terrible drug problem, we all know that. Something where we can set up somewhere where we can put our people on the top of the mountaintop where they can't get near any of those things or make it better. Or even our old people homes where we can have them looked after 24-hour care, not just in a hospital, in a hospice where the staff isn't enough to cover all those kinds of things. I don't really care if it happens in my lifetime, but for our children and our mokopuna, that's what I'd like to see. And I think a lot of us are similar on similar lines to that too. Kia ora, I think I spoke enough.
Yeah, no, thanks for the feedback. It's good content for our workshop. Obviously, there's a couple of points you touched on there regarding. We've recognised that the majority of our whānau don't live back in Wairoa. We're looking at only 30%, where compared to 70% live outside there. In terms of some of those aspirations about water, health, and all that, obviously there is an opportunity there for us to engage with other iwi and entities that are out in the district to partner up with them to provide those services, rather than for us to try and replicate this in all the different districts around the country. So that's part of the amalgamation, being a collective entity. We can then form those partnerships through their organisation, provide those services, as well as back home set them up for ourselves. So obviously, that's key. That's good feedback. Okay. Yeah, feedback or question?
Oh, no. Can I say something? I think the other part too is part of the settlement has something built into it called social economic revitalisation strategy. And I think part of this is how that's managed on all of our behalf in terms of services around education, around health and other areas. I think the other part is to ensure that we don't allow the Crown or government or its agencies to abdicate their own responsibility. So there's a part about this, and it's about getting the balance.
Obviously, we got to this point, pre-settlement phase, we were kind of restricted in a lot of Crown policy and a lot of requirements. Obviously, the Crown's been through this process of settlements with a lot of iwi before, and they've kind of set up their template. Now, with this particular, what we're trying to do here is take out the Crown policy and have ourselves decide the destiny that we want to achieve, not be dictated to Crown policy. But obviously, as Peter said, there's some important relationships with Crown entities, with our neighbours, with other iwi that we need to make sure we have engaged and formed, so then we can benefit and move forward in the future. So we're all clear on the process today, how we got here, what we're answering, wanting more feedback on. Obviously, a big question is that we couldn't decide in the pre-settlement phase on what the final model should look like. Instead of trying to hold up our settlement until we all agreed, it was the Chair's wisdom to park that idea. When we came in the ratification phase last year, we came in and said to you that this is a big question we need to answer, and we'll save that for the post-settlement phase, to deal with. So this is why we're here today, is to start that process of, it's contained in our trustee, it's pretty specific on what we need to do. There's requirements on us. We cannot spend any of the settlement or do anything with the settlement until we've gone through this particular, what we call the work plan process with our members.
Yeah, just a comment and further to your whakaaro about education and hauora. So our plan really is to leave our $100 million in our pockets and look at the DHB, Ministry of Ed. And like Pierre said, through this social economic revitalisation strategy, that's how we're going to be negotiating how the resources come through. We're not looking at spending our money. That's our compensation for the breach of the treaty on our people, on your tipuna. Hey. So, get that. Ask some questions, or else you're not going to get a cup of tea.
Kia ora hui tātou. Mea watana hau kia kouta e haratere te wā kōrero o Ngāti Kaumanu e he. Engari taku hōwahine e te mokopuna a Karanema. Hoi ono, me hake hau kia koutou, o tika ki ngā kaitea ki o Rotorua. Hone, me pēnei te kōrero kia tātou. Me hui tātou, kia mui ai te nuinga kāri tā mai tēnei ai. Koina te pātai kia koe e tarangatira, hone. Koe no ko te o ngā huarahi i haere mātou o te arawa, te kumautanga, ki te commercial arm, tērā. Ki hau nei kāre tino pai tērā, ki tōku nei matatau i Wainganui i tēnei rōpu o te arawa. they seem to want to go on their own and do their own thing. E hara tēnei te takahi o te mano taua ropu, e kao, tino mohi o rātou o taua ropu. Engari, ko tēnei te whakaaro i roto i hau, ko te te o ngā kaitiaki o taua ropu. Hoi anō, tēnā hoki koutou, mō koutou whakaatu atu, te kōroa pāna ki tēnei te Wairoa. Tēnā tātou.
Kia. Tēnā koe. Tēnā koe. So one of the questions, and Leon's alluded to this, is how do we actually grow? So we've indicated somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000, and the 2013 census speculated that there should be up around the 30,000 mark. Hey, kura te kaho kahungunu. The question is, so how do we get from where we are in terms of registration, somewhere between 6 and 7, as far up towards 30 plus that we can? Part of it rests with your rōpū here, your trustees. We can only do so much. The major part rests with you. Each of you know who your whānau is, you know where they're at. Pātai atu. Hey, ask them if they've registered. So if they haven't, get them to go onto the website, because we're blind to that. Kia ora koutou tēnā. So that's our appeal, and our request to you is help us to boost our numbers. The more we have registered, the stronger we will be ultimately. And that other one is he concept tā te arawa, he concept tā Waikato Tainui, me rātu. I think part of us, and we're nowhere near that at the moment. This is a first discussion, so we're getting a sense from it. At some point, we'll be coming back, having studied all of those models, we'll be coming back with something, but we need a steer from you today as to where are you generally looking and why. What's really important to you? Koe rā te whakautu, e pā.
So yeah, currently we're just doing something high level. We don't want to start too detailed. Obviously now is a good opportunity to do that before the settlement lands. Obviously when the money does land, things start to get a bit tight and it's more difficult to change things then. Now's the opportunity. Obviously, as Peter said, all the models out there will be on the table. That all the other PSGs with other year we have utilised. Obviously we'll get some expert advice on that. They'll come back with the trustees and do an analysis of what's currently in them. Currently everyone's used in terms of a model. But obviously we want to develop something that's unique to us, that's very different. Obviously we don't want to copy others, but we might take aspects of others and collaborate that into what something that's going to work for us. And at the end of the day, obviously our members will make that decision. And obviously to make that decision, we need as more as possible registered members we get. The more we get, obviously the more informed people are, the more people will want to participate in the process. Obviously we were trying to steer away from just coming around that 12 months ago to get your vote, to get the settlement done, and then that's it, and then go away and hide and look after it. Obviously we'll start a process of engagement. Our key here is our providers that do excellent work in terms of trying to engage with our members as wide as possible. Obviously no matter where they live, even overseas, so that's why we're streaming all these hui, so our whānau who don't live in New Zealand can live anywhere, no matter where you live, can participate in this process. Okay. Any question?
Kia ora tātou. Nā mihi māna kia koutou katoa, nā uri o te Wairoa. Tēnā koutou e te pai. Nā mihi aroa ki a koe. My name is Mokonik and I'm here for my mokos today that from Wairoa. And they're the grand mokos of Sid Carroll. This is Nora Ana, my rangatira o. So there's a few things in here. I was looking at the aspirations and the vision of all the old people. I think that's fantastic. More concerning to me, and I think John Whanga mentioned it in the PowerPoint, is about the instruments and the mechanisms within your deed of settlement that's going to empower us. And obviously for ourselves and our whānau, it's about building the capability and the capacity of our people to move forward. And we know that's a big job. I think there's been in a range of about 72 settlements that have been done so far out of 111 left, or a few left. So the challenge, I think, is really, I like the collaboration model. I don't think any one of those three is perfect, but really respect what you're here today doing, and a big congratulations on how far you've got today. So I think it's awesome. But I'd like to see a model. We need to have our own mana motahake, but at the same time, we also need to have a sense of responsibility about how we deliver the assets and what we do with the assets on behalf of all of our people. I like the shared vision of about it being regional, a regional concept, because we all know with our people that if we don't make it a regional tiered PSGE, well then we're going to have trouble moving forward. The last one is straight Pākehā. I mean, it's a centralised entity. We control everything. We elect everything. What you say is good. We've had that. The time of the runangas and all that is all gone. So I think, personally, I think there's still some work to be done, but I like the middle one, the collaboration, where we've got mana motahake, we've got commercial. I don't see anything in here about commerce. Going back to Henari's corridor. So I'd like to see something in there. I think the money should be split away. That's a Pākehā vision. But at the same time, the money should be actually the budget for our revitalisation of our language, the mano, te wai, our children, all of the social well-being. There should be a budget put to that. And that is the budget. And the people, regardless of who they are, they can get the value, the increased wealth about the dollar. Well, you get anyone to do that. You just make sure you've got the right ones with the right skills. But we've got to make sure we don't lose sight of mana motahake and who we are as a people. And that's the challenge for the PSG. So, it's a hard job. Any trustee or whoever ends up in the PSG, but really support what you're doing and keep the good work up, and hopefully be around for the next round of Huis. And we want our mokos to go back to Wairoa. We want them to go back on the whenua, and that's not just saying it because it's an emotional thing, but we've got to have something to go to. And we've got to build the capability and capacity into our mokos and our people before we can get there. And I take the point, we all need to get off our ass and make sure that we get everyone to get out there and vote. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Excellent feedback.
Kia ora,
Ka pai.
mate.
No further questions?
E hona e kororia kia ia matamaru Wairoa he maungarongo ki te whenua. E whakaara pai ki ngā tāngata katoa hamini. E aotarangi ka auhia a mātu huruhuru te manu kārere ai. Ko tītirangi te maunga, ko waiau te aua, ko tāki timu te waka, ko kahununi te iwi, ai tamatarangi te hapu, ko rangi ahua te marae. Tēnei rā te whakapapa i te taha ki tōku pāpa. Tēnei rā te whakapapa i te taha ki tōku māma, ko rāringa ta maunga, ko whāngawi hi te awa, ko kurahau te waka, ko rongo mawa hine, te wahina hā tāhua, ki te tāhia. Ko ia ka kata hau. A tēnei rā te mihi ati kia koe e pieri mō tō karakia i tēnei timata te hui i tēnei wā. Kia koe e te hea mana e Leon tēnei rā te mea tū. Kia koe koutou hoki ngā kaiwhakahaere o tātou te Wairoa. I had the honour of being at the one last week. I also had the honour of being here today as well. And for me, I'm a I see, I hear sort of person. And the more I come and the more I read, the more I understand. And listen to everybody's whakaaro is not so much different to last week. And we all have aspirations and dreams. And for me, there's a lot of our whānau living in Australia. Noha nau ki ahi tereiria i tēnei wā te whenua, trohe te whenua o te iwi Moimoia. And I went there for a 6-week holiday in 1976. I've got 3 weeks to go before I come back. But while I've been over there, I've always been passionate about who I am and where I come from. And we are all connected to our whenua. I love it over there, but my heart is here. And a lot of people go over there because, and I'll speak for Rangiahu as an example. When I was a kid, there was a school out there. It was a bustling little settlement. And every time we went there, I went to the school there, drank all the milk, rolled around in the tyres, and all those sort of things. And what I would love to see is the reason why a lot of our people are over there because of the money and the travel, and we struggle too in many ways as well. But I would love to see, as this gentleman over here mentioned about, we want our people to go back to Wairoa, but you can't go back there if there's no money. So, I'd just like to acknowledge all that whānau that he had today, because we're all passionate about who we are, and although we're living all over the motu, my question would be to ask, would there be any opportunity in the future, in the near future, for the committee to go over to Australia and give this same sort of kōrero to our people all in the one area, because there's a lot of our whānau over there. In the little town that I live in, I can think of 15 people, and that's half the amount of people that are in this room. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. That is a valid question. Obviously, through the ratification phase, we did have an Australian leg on our ratification leg, but at that time thought it wise to stick within Aotearoa. But obviously it is something for our trustees to consider. Obviously with the registration and information that we do get, we can then analyse it and then ascertain where else we could hold these hui. But definitely we understand a lot of our whānau moved to Aussie.
Because the word empowerment comes in a number of times, and a lot of our people need empowerment, not just at home but over there.
Over there as well. Good point. Good point. Any further questions?
Wendy Johnson, Whittingham, Mauri. I live in Hastings. My dad moved there for the work, and we call that home. But each and every one of us from Wairoa, we all have an address back in Wairoa, and that's our marae. I think if we built our marae capacity, we can all connect back there, and it's a good thing. And so we really need to register our whānau back to our marae, and wonderful things can happen.
Kia ora. Cool.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Oh, kia ora. Philip Hubby Smith, Tukungo. Because I can relate to all the clusters, but you know, my cousin says, yeah, a lot of our whānau over in Australia, and I look at all around us, we've all left Wairoa for employment somewhere else. And my heart goes out to those back there. They've got nothing. And I'd hate to see this distribution of money, $88 million, is just handing out. But I want to see growth. I want to see something in place where we can put something back into Wairoa. Through employment, through industry or whatever. We've got to attract industry so that there's employment for those people. The Ahi car back there, those are the ones that deserve the 88 million. We're gone because we're finding employment. Most of us will be employed elsewhere. Those back there, I was back there only a week or so ago, and you go around, you know, it's pretty desolate, Wairoa. Growing up there, you know, I was telling my daughter, 8 o'clock on a Friday night, you couldn't move down Marine Parade.
That's right too.
You know, it was just packed. Everything, shops everywhere. I go there and all I see is painted up windows, you know, the movie theatre, Regent Theatre, and I can just go back, and I think most of us were there where we got memories, fond memories of the time when you're growing up. And there was prosperity. But where's it gone? You know, $88 million, yeah, that's a big light shining above us at the moment, but I don't want that light to start dimmering because we're just giving out and giving out and nothing's coming in. Something's got to be put in place so that light keeps getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And at the end of the day, Wairoa becomes the Wairoa that I knew and loved when I grew up.
Yeah. Now definitely the challenge ahead for economic growth is quite a big one for us. Obviously the opportunities back home, and we need to look at them and what can we do to increase employment. Obviously employment tracks our whānau back home, and obviously what I'm hearing is, you know, people long to return back home. It's the employment that's taken them out of the district for no fault of their own. So it certainly is a big task and a real something that we're going to need to address going forward into the future.
Mr. Chief.
Here, I think I have one more question.
I'm the great-granddaughter of Rotorua Engagement Hui. To be honest, that our whānau had probably been dormant from this kōrero, so I think one of the whānau here today will reach out and
Kapai.
But, you know, kapai. I'm not sure, you know, of anything really. it's the first time I've been to this, but just looking at the structure, you know, in a way, all of this could work from looking at it all. Now, the small groups of where everyone are, obviously they are in those places, in towns and different, but obviously it's the education of limited access, I guess. But even the first that we collective groups and even mahi tahi, that could be maybe a skillful based educated people, advisors, and even the last section, you know, the last people completing those decisions, but referring back to whakatōhatoa, you know, so it's all thinking.
Yeah.
Kapai.
So we didn't be prescriptive. We don't want to. We're not directing anyone down, or any trustees are not here to tell you this is the preferable one. So we're trying to keep it as open as possible and make that feedback. But the raw qualitative data is what we're after, not picking a box. That'll come, daily down the track. But all your whakaaro regarding all that aspects is good. One more question?
Kia ora tātou. O Aroheira tōku ingoa, whānau Johnson, te kāhui ngā Orima Manhiri. Today me atu kia koutou tātou koutou mai kia honei whakapeto ngoi, whakapau kaha i ngā marama e whitu kua hipa. Nā reira, tēnei te mei kia koutou. Me koto te kōrero hea no, me tautoko i ngā kōrero, kua puti ki nei rā. Tātu me tautoko anō ki te wāhi i tērā wiki i te Wairoa i puta mai te kupu pono o mahue i tatu nei moimoia. Kia nei rā, te kupu pono, te whakaaro o roto i taua rā kupu he mea nui o tatu nei moimoia. Mō ngā kāhui, tēnā pē me nui ake ngā kōrero mō tēnei me ngā groupings. Ki ana nei, te au nei kua whakai tātou ki ngā mea ngā groupings, ngā kāhui. But perhaps we need some more discussion around how those groupings, if it's not going to be our existing kāhui, what these groupings are going to be. In terms of Uncle Isaac, about the roadshow to Australia. I have heard Kaitaha was there recently. I think if we've got 30,000, I'm not sure, it might be a question for Darren, but there might also be some financial benefits for the more of us that we have registered, take our power in numbers. Maybe one of the cons of collaboration is also this tension and uncertainty about which assets go to which group. Probably also a con of collaboration. Kia ora.
Kia ora. I think we're starting to move into the workshop phase, and I want to hand over to Apiata, who'll be running the workshop and be able to direct us and guide us through that. Kapa Api? Yeah. Kapa?
Do
Hi.
you want to stitch them together?
Yeah. I'll leave it on for I'll put that to use in a second. So, Aroha kia ora koutou. What I'd like to do is just touch on a couple of points from the last three questions. Oh, hang on, now I'll put these back on. Your kōrero around the complexity of the options that we've got, and depending, looking at the big picture and what we want to achieve, which is why we're going to start with our aspirations. So probably a good analogy, which I've shared at some of our other sites, is that this is very much like building a plane mid-flight. We had to hit the ground running, and we've done our best to maintain some pace, but the short and long story is that basically we're already in flight and we haven't finished building the plane. So these conversations that we're having with you now are more about where we're going to land that plane. We'll put the rest of the plane together and hopefully it'll hold the whole journey. But the idea is that once we get to altitude, all of us would have had an opportunity to provide input into what we think is the best way to structure the future of our mokopuna. So coming back to your question around economic factors and working with all of those parties and complexity, how that relates to the kōrero that we're having today is that each one of those three models have a different degree of complexity. So if we're looking to have an economic focus and looking at how we're going to achieve a bigger picture or whatever that might be, then the model that we give preference to will either facilitate that and speed that process up, or it will slow that process down. The process will still happen, we will still reach the destination. The only difference is if we take the time now to consider where we think these models best meet where we want to finish, then that in turn will translate into how quickly this journey gets to the destination. Kapoi?
Okay, whānau. Finished?
No. So the other one is around, you mentioned about some of our whānau are a little bit dormant. We're still at the beginning of the journey, so welcome to the start line. 1 out of 5 of our whānau are registered. So that means 4 people in your whānau are not. If you're here today and you've checked your registered, you'll find 4 of your whānau members who are not. Alright? That's your challenge from me to you.
What about the ones in Aussie?
Yep, Facebook, email, tell them you're turning 80 and come home for the birthday. Alright, whatever it takes, but get our whānau talking about their future and their aspirations.
Right, let's start.
Yeah, check up that
That one?
the aspiration. Aye.